is Michał Choński, and I have a distinct pleasure and honor of hosting a conversation with somebody who needs no introduction after the applause. Our guest is a proof that a powerful voice can transcend genres, continents, and from redefining metal with The Gathering through her solo career, a number of projects with other artists. Anneke van Giersbergen has followed her creativity wherever it took her. And so please again join me in welcoming Anneke van Giersbergen, one of the most distinctive voices in metal music.
Thank you so much. That's so cool. Thank you.
We'll talk for about 30 minutes, and after that there will be a brief Q&A session. So if you have any questions, you can please keep them in your mind, and you have a chance to ask Anneke. But before that, today's concert at the main stage is the celebration of Mandelion. 31 years ago, the album was released. The landscape of metal music at that time was defined by Samael, Paradise Lost, Tiamat. When you look back at that musical landscape, the way how did you position your voice? Did you sing against that heaviness, or did you see the work on Mandelion as the exploration of the genre?
This is a very good first question, because and you thought about this more than I did at the time, because actually I love singing, I love making music. When I joined The Gathering, I knew their music obviously from Always and Almost a Dance, and I knew their music was so atmospheric and so beautiful and so layered and melodic. So it's easy for me to work on it for vocals, to come up with vocal lines and melodies and lyrics for it. So I didn't even think about it that much. My voice and their music, like, they fit together and it felt good. And we liked each other as persons, as people. And that's also very important, when you create something together. So all these things have more to do with intuitive, writing and working than anything else. So I didn't really think about how I would use my voice, or just when it was a very natural process.
Was it also luck? Do you think, to what extent luck played an important part in that alignment of stars and planets that led to the creation of this record, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I think so. There's always a component of luck, because we had a mutual friend. I had a boyfriend who knew the guys of The Gathering. We saw each other at parties or whatnot, and then they lost their singer, and so one thing led to another. But it's just that I knew somebody who knew them, and they were friends. So that's kind of the luck component. But then they searched for a new singer. I became a new singer. Then it's all about hard work, and and follow your heart, but especially work hard to make things happen. What's in your head and so on. So, but yeah, I think everything that works or goes well has a small component of luck.
And good friends, right, who are ready to explore the boundaries of the genre. Mandelion, that was a breakthrough. How to Measure a Planet pushed the boundaries even further, and some fans wanted another Mandelion. Would you agree? And How to Measure a Planet, released in 1998, put them on a different trajectory, different pathway.
Yeah, that's true. There was a few things going on. So Mandelion and Nighttime Birds were both very successful albums. it was kind of a new sound, you know, with the female voice and the doomy music, and the record company and everybody was happy with those two albums. Then we went on and did something completely different, and it all started with our producer who was introduced to Pro Tools, which is a new way of working at the time, a digital way of working in a computer with a computer program, instead of the analog thing that we were used to. And then we learned about this new technique, and we learned that there was like the sky was the limit. We could do everything. We could record everything that was in our mind, because there was limited layering was possible, and everything. So we were very inspired, and that made a whole new sound for us. We could explore. There's a song of half an hour on it, you know, which a record company was like, okay. They didn't really, they were like, okay, how are we going to market this after Mondillion and after Nighttime Birds? So there was a long time, like we were super happy with How to Measure. Is maybe my favorite Gathering album to this day. But a lot of people, their minds were, the record company, but also the people who listened to our music, were in their minds, they had this like, this vibe and this, you know, of Nighttime Birds. And then we came with this, and everybody needed some time with it. And the cool thing about rock and metal community and people who listen to prog and metal music is that they're open-minded, and they went on and listened to it, and then some of them and didn't understand it, but then they listened to it again and again because they wanted to give us and the album a chance. And then in about a year after it released, then we got like emails and people coming up like, now I understand, because I listened to it and so layered and it's so much, and wasn't fathomable at the first listen. And so they gave us a chance, and we loved it, you know. It's so nice that we could be creative and that people took the time to take it in and to understand it. So.
Do you think really that metal music is open-minded? Curiously enough,
Sure.
just 3 days ago, we had a panel on the definition of metal music, and we talked about that internal paradox. On the one hand, the metal genre priding itself on rebellion, and on the other hand, fans, being surprisingly conservative about genres and labels.
Well, there's so many subgenres. So one genre, some subgenres are very, they want everything to be the same and the same vibe and the same thing. Other subgenres are more open-minded. You know, the name progressive rock means that they were always in the 70s, you know, looking for new sounds, new ways of writing, recording, and playing. So the name says it all, like progressive music. So yeah, in general, I think heavy metal genre and people who listen to metal music are very open-minded about music, but also about everything else, and about life, about society, about politics, and it's cool. I love it.
What came later in your career was what you referred to in one of the interviews as one of the hardest things you've ever done. After 13 years with The Gathering, you left the band because, I'm quoting one of the interviews right now, you wanted to be the director of your own life. How do you reflect back on that milestone, and what is it that you had to unlearn from that time with The Gathering to move forward?
I don't think I had to unlearn anything, but I had to start. I had to start again at a certain level, because a lot of people thought that I would then just go on the same level and I would go, you know, do the same thing. But I didn't, of course. There was a lot of people who thought they weren't happy that I left, but I wanted to do so much more creatively and make a solo album. I had a family, a young family. My kid was 2 years old then. I wanted to have more integrated music family, and our life together. So all these things like led up to this point that I thought like maybe it's nice, maybe it's good for me to step out, to spread my wings, and to go out on my own. And then, yeah, I had this total creative freedom, so I did a lot of different things immediately. But I had to start somewhere. I had to, there's less people coming to the shows, less people buying my albums, so I had to really work hard to get, to a certain level again, which was fine. I like working hard. But yeah.
So freedom in that creativity, that's definitely the gain after leaving the gathering, and your that decision allowed you to initiate a impressive solo career, but also allowed you to collaborate with a myriad of various artists, and I could spend the next 10 minutes just listing some of them, from Danny Kavanagh, from Devin Townsend, through Within Temptation, Napalm Death, whatnot. That's quite a landscape of diversity. What is it that you gain through those collaborations, and which you think are the most important ones for you, the most formative ones?
I guess you learn always. You learn about making music and creating and working in the studio, and because every artist has a different way of doing things, so you kind of pick up little bits and pieces everywhere and be inspired by other musicians and how they work and sing and play music and so on. But one of my favorite people in the world to work with is Devin Townsend. Yeah, there's one Devin Townsend fan. Woohoo! I know them more. Yeah, Devin is the best, but you all know this. His music is out of this world. His voice is out of this world. And it's cool to work with him because he's very nice, very lovely, but he's very intelligent, he's very funny, and he's very hardworking, and he's very fast. So I have to keep up with him, in the studio. And I love it. I love his music. And he knows exactly what I can do with my voice. So when he writes music and he has a part for me in his mind, he knows exactly what I can and cannot do. So it's always like a pleasure to work with him, even remotely. Now I'm on a couple of songs on The Moth, his new album, and we work remotely. So I work in my studio and but it's great. And Arjen Lucas is also one of those, yeah, he's fantastic. Anybody of you came to the shows the other day for Arjen shows? Yeah, yeah, that was, yeah. There you go. He's wearing the T-shirt. Awesome. Yeah. So it's wonderful to work with those guys. They, they inspire me a great deal.
Inspiration, that's one thing. What about creative tension? You have, every artist is an individual, and you have the list that I mentioned earlier. So many individual talents, voices, but also ideas about aesthetics. You mentioned alignment and knowing exactly where you fit in terms of collaboration with Devin Townsend. Is there any element of positive creative tension with those collaborations?
Yeah, I suppose so. I guess if there's any tension, it's usually not in the studio or at the front or at the back of an album, but more when you play live together. I mean, that's when it all comes together. Then you play your songs on the stage together. And that's where positive, but also sometimes negative tension comes, because then you have to deal with the traveling, but also with the fatigue, with bad food, with everything, that's challenging, and the travel and so on.
Tour
Usually,
life.
tour life, which I love. I love going to shit, every tour. But so that brings a lot of tension, and most of the time it's good tension, like you share this like, oh, we're so tired, but on stage we're on fire, and it's so cool. That's, I mean, with your own bandmates as well, but also with your collaborative partners as well. But sometimes, you know, you have creative differences, for instance, on a stage, like how are we going to do this live? And there's creative differences, and you have to, you know, talk about it and come to an agreement on whatever the aesthetics, like you say, or anything else, or the sound, or the set list, or
Agreement or compromise?
usually I'm all for compromising. Yeah, I'm boring that way. I'm like, okay, whatever. I just want to sing the songs, you know. So I'm not super strict. I think the most important thing is like, we have to have a good vibe on stage, because that's what the audience is going to feel. And if it's really great and you have a wonderful light show and whatnot, and the sound is great and the set list is great, but you don't feel it, and you're not happy on stage, then people will not necessarily like it, or lock it in their hearts, because it's not honest, you know. It's not, well, it might be honest, but it's not. I don't like negativity at all. So for me, the compromise is always like, we have to get back to good vibes and good musicianship, you know.
I don't like negativity, says a metal singer.
Yes.
So metal is not about negativity to you, is it?
No, not at all. Actually, metal for me is very much about the balance between the darkness and the light. And what I love about the metal genre and the people who listen to metal music or who create metal music is that we are not afraid to face the darkness in life, in our lives, in each other, in society, and wherever. We are not afraid to talk about it in our lyrics or to each other. And that's something really, really big. I think that's also, I think always, like in heavy metal genre and prog and rock genre is like micro world peace, because there's no taboos and we all accept each other. Because also I think we are a community of black sheep, you know, and sometimes not understood about, you know, by anybody else, but by each other. We find each other in the music, in lyrics, in how we dress, and I think that's so important to find a balance. And there we find the light, where we find each other and we can talk about things and we ease our minds. And so I like dark music. I like this energy, and I like, you know, this masculine energy of heavy metal. And I like, you know, being happy. So I try to combine it also in my music as well, in melody and, you know, atmosphere. So.
We began working together in 2017 when I promoted your show with Wur, right?
Yes.
How do you look back at that music project, and how does it fit into the pushing of boundaries, right, that you mentioned earlier in terms of collaboration with other artists, but also the avoidance of labels that may be limiting and that you want to just circumvent?
Yeah, well, Vuur I wanted to make like a really good, solid heavy metal album at one point, and I always worked, you know, so somehow when I was writing up until then, there was alternative music coming out, but not heavy shit. And then I felt like, okay, so I want to make like a real good, like I have all these ideas. And I want
heavy shit.
This, like at one point, I want to make a metal album. So I formed a band with a band name, so that in any case, if I would do something heavy, that it would be called Vuur. So we made the album, and somehow a lot of people thought, oh, Anneke is making a metal album. It's going to sound like The Gathering. And I didn't say anything about it. Maybe I should have, but I didn't say anything about it. And people didn't say anything about it to me. So the album came out, and it's like, yeah, like technical, proggy, like technical shit. And everybody was like a little bit disappointed. that because it was so different from the sound of, for instance, The Gathering. And so also this album took a year for everybody to kind of appreciate, because then again they listened to it over and over and they start to appreciate this album, because it was, people had to kind of switch their minds to like, oh, it's this vibe, you know, it's this sound. So we went on tour, and it was fine, it was great. But then then I thought, okay, I'm gonna make immediately a second one, like album with vuur, and you know, to push through and to just to make this like a real thing. And then my marriage went, you know, south a little bit. And I started like that was my personal life. And then I started writing songs. And then like only soft shit came out, right? So nothing heavy. And I was trying to turn these songs into heavy metal, but that wasn't honest, you know, it didn't work. So I said to the band and I said to the producer, like, I'm gonna make like an alternative acoustic kind of album. I was like, okay. So I did that. That was The Darkest Skies Are the Brightest. My marriage went better. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
The therapeutic function
It's
of
for
music,
sure,
right?
for sure. I had to go through it. I had to go, and you know, there was no huge problems, but it was something valid, and we had to work on it. I had to work on it, and this is what came out music-wise. And the album did very well, because I thought when I released that album, I was thinking like, who's waiting for my, you know, my inner feelings and thoughts about life and love. And then the album comes out, and then there's lots of people saying, I'm going through the same thing, or I'm thinking about this too, or... and then, yeah, it's just like life, right? Life happening, and sometimes it goes well, and sometimes there's trouble. And a lot of people could feel this too. And I guess it did well because it was so personal. And vuur is we're super proud of this album, but it's a little bit further away from me. Like it's a concept and it's like heavy and so. And Dark Skies album is very, personal and very, I think people like understood it right away. But you never know.
Yeah, the dark skies are the brightest. You also have that paradox in the very title of the album that you mentioned earlier, the correlation of light and darkness, right? And I dare say the context when the album was released, the sense of global crisis, the pandemic, all of that, I think added profoundly to how your lyrics, to how the music connected with people who your audiences just found a perfect expression of their own inner dilemmas. Mm-hmm. So that's stars aligning. That's luck.
I guess so. I guess that and you can't fool your audience. So we just create anything. That's why I'm all over the place. I just create what I feel like. And then there's always people who feel that too, when it's honest music and honest lyrics.
I create what I feel like. On the one hand, it's a privilege of an artist with amazing following, right? On the other hand, that's courage, right? And again, pushing the boundaries. In a lot of interviews, you talk about adaptability as one of the key features in any artist's career.
I'm sorry, what's your question?
Adaptability.
Yeah.
So the ability to adapt, right?
Yeah.
In a lot of interviews, you mentioned that it's a vital element of the toolkit for an artist that thinking outside of the box and just following the changing circumstances and changing context. You talked about that in the context of COVID and how the pandemic impacted the music industry.
Yeah, I guess we all had to adapt, right, to COVID situation, whether you're a teacher or a musician or anybody else. So I guess we are born to adapt. We are born to move in a world which is totally changing all the time, and you have to. And the music business and the music is, world is changing all the time. So you have to adapt. And I am like that, but I know there's a lot of musicians who are, they have this vision and they go for it and they don't take no for an answer and they are not adaptive people by character, and sometimes they become huge, So I guess it works both ways. Like people who have it in their character, who will go through anything to get to their goal, and this is how it should sound, and these people I want to work with, and this crowd I'm going to reach, and I want to, play big stadiums and so, and they will get there because they have a vision, and I'm more like a person who is. I can adapt, and I'm a Pisces, right? So I kind of swim everywhere, and I feel like, okay, now I'm going here. Okay, now I'm going to do this because it feels right. And that's why I'm all over the place. So I don't even think it's courage. I just think it's just me making music and hoping people will like what I create. And that's why I'm not huge, because I don't stick to one sound or one way to look. One aesthetics, I just kind of. But the people who do listen to me, they like that I'm all over the place, and they like to be surprised. So it's nice.
You just said you're not huge. You're headlining the festival,
Oh,
and
yes.
you're playing on the main stage today in a few hours.
Yeah,
so
forget what I said.
Let me put that to a
I'm
test.
huge. No, I'm super proud of that. Super proud. Yes.
That puts us in the context of today's show and the fact that it's, you're on tour with the Gathering, celebrating the anniversary of Mandelion. So before we talk about those shows and before we talk about the way that tour was initiated, I wanted to ask you about the role of nostalgia. You've been, as if talking about different stages of your career, and the few times you mentioned fans being surprised that it's the records that you released, solo albums, collaboration, prog, sound, all of that, it's not Mandelion. So to what extent do you think metal music is nostalgic or has to be nostalgic, or to what extent is this an element of how music is received? Because obviously you're fans of people who are gathered with us today, I bet, and I know myself, a lot of people are very nostalgic about Mandelion. Is it positive or negative?
Oh, it's very positive. And I think the nostalgia comes from it being 30 years old. So anything 30 years old which you locked in your heart in those days is yeah, I see people, yes. I have it too, I grew up in the 80s, I was born in 73. So growing up in the 80s and then being a young adult in the 90s, whatever you hear and whatever you go through, and then the music that you listen to is locked in your heart forever. So I listen to those records also, records of like Pink Floyd or, lots of music. And it takes me back to those days. So the fact, and that's another thing, the fact that Mandelion made such an impact in those days and that people still listen to it and still listen to metal music and metal from nowadays as well, is amazing. So it's super positive, and we feel it too, we with the band, and I sung with the Gathering 10 years ago for this one reunion, then 10 years before that. So it was like kind of 20 years ago that we really played a lot together. And it feels so good. And the thing is, there's no pressure anymore because there's no record company saying you have to make another album, blah, blah, blah. So this is only celebrating the songs of Mandelion. And Everything else is the same, like the jokes are the same in the dressing room, and the way the guys play their instruments the same. It's like the same vibe, and it's so nice. It's so nice.
Are you time traveling with us right now with strange machines?
Maybe, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, I guess so, because everybody's traveling with us, for this. It's great.
So, tell us the story behind those anniversary shows. What was it like to rehearse? What was it like to, at the beginning contemplate the idea and then see it eventually come to, fulfillment?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's not a humble brag, not at all. But we didn't expect this to happen, because when we were going out for coffee, and we said, okay, so it was just nice to have coffee, right? To be together and to say hi, and so we said, okay, so Mandelion is 30 years old, and we got a gold album, and we thought maybe it's nice to celebrate. And we knew that people were listening still to Mandelion and to the gathering, and then we said, okay, so when we do it, we have to do it right. We're going for like maybe 2 shows in Holland.
No,
Yeah,
2 shows.
2 shows.
Okay.
Like we do 1 big show and maybe 2, right? And it's not bragging at all, because we were so surprised that when those 2 shows came into pre-sales, they were gone within 1 minute. Like we got like super angry text and mails from everybody, like, it's already sold out. So the guy from the venue, he said, and the server went out, the whole thing. And then the guy said, okay, well, we also have the Wednesday, okay, so we do the Wednesday, gone. Okay, we also have the Sunday, so it's gone. So in like 20 minutes, like 5 sold out shows. And we were like, fucking hell. And then we said, okay, well, we keep it like this, because it's like really special. And then like Wacken open air, and everybody jumped on it. And then we said, okay, so after these shows, we said, okay, we do 1 year of, cool festivals and nice club shows, and then we end it, and we celebrate for a year. And honestly, it was such a beautiful thing that everybody was jumping on it and celebrating with us. Yeah, it's great. We didn't expect it. We hoped it, but we didn't expect it.
You broke the server, so Mandelion broke the internet, or the server.
Yes.
Okay, another achievement unlocked. What was it like to rehearse and to go back to those songs? I mean, you did it a few times, as you said, right, for consecutive anniversaries. But what is it that those songs, those compositions, those lyrics, how do you view them right now? How is your perception of them different from what it was 31 years ago?
When you're a young adult, you have sometimes stronger emotions about everything, right? About love, about life, about whatever you write about. And so these lyrics of 30 years ago are very strong, very emotional, very powerful. If we're talking about lyrics. And when I sing them now, with all the older songs that I sing, but especially the Mandelion songs, I feel it. I feel what I felt back then when I wrote them down, when I was singing them on tour, and when we were sharing them with the people who felt the same way. And I really go back to that feeling, and I feel this again. And that's a wonderful thing, It takes you back. And rehearsing, it was super easy, because somehow when you do things like a lot, when you're a young adult, you're like a sponge, and everything was still in our system, the old songs. And of course, like Strange Machines, and I sing gathering songs all the time in my solo stuff, of course, as well. But there's a lot of songs that I didn't sing for 30 years or 20 years, whatever. And they were still there. There was just like, It's great. I forget so much in life, but I didn't forget the lyrics. Great.
Thinking about time traveling, it seems like you encountered yourself from that time and you're good friends with that person.
Yeah, that's something. That's nice. That's nice to put it like that. Yeah, for sure. Because I was very young. We were kids, right? And sometimes you do stupid things when you're a kid. So sometimes I don't know if you have it too, but sometimes I lay awake at night, wondering about all the stupid things I said and done in my life. It takes me hours. Like, why did I say this to this person? Why did I do that? That was so stupid. But the one thing that was not stupid was the music of the gathering, and the music that we made and played and the shows. So it's easy to go back to that. So.
Wonderful. So hopefully all of us will have a chance to time travel with you.
Yes.
But before that, we do have some time for a few questions.
Anybody?
Yes. Yep.
Hello, Marcin from Gdańsk. Two questions. One related with your Anneke dance. Could you please tell us something more about how it started? And second question about the collaboration with other artists. Do you still have someone special that you would like to do some collaboration?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good question because I'm living my dream. I work with so many fantastic artists, so I don't really have like a huge dream of a collaboration. But I do love like Mike Patton, for instance, as a singer. And I think he's a super cool guy. I listened to his music and Faith No More when I was a kid. I would love to meet him one day or sing with him even. I know that's a utopia, but that would answer your question. And your first question was, how did it...
Your dance, Anneke dance, how it started.
My what?
Dance,
My-
your dancing.
My dancing.
Yes, how it started.
What do you mean my dancing? In my dressing room. Oh, my dressing room. It's so cool that you asked this question. I do a little dressing room dance. I wanted to make 100 dressing room dances. That's so cool. I made like 62 or so I still have to get going. But yeah, I love dancing and I love killing time in the dressing room. And it also prepares me to do a show because then, like lots of times you're waiting the whole day and you're doing the makeup and eating. It's all quiet stuff. And doing a little dance is good to get blood flowing for the show. And I always ask when I play with the band or with the gathering of with my band or with an orchestra or anybody, I always say like, join me. And everybody was like 2 or 3 times, yeah, cool. But now everybody's getting bored of my dances, so I'm alone in my dressing room dancing. But I should pick it up again. Cool question. Yeah?
And what I would like to say is 30 years ago, we've had almost no internet. We've had no social media, but somehow you became viral at that time with the Mandelion, and that was amazing. And I would like to thank you for enriching that time in my life at that time. And the question from my side is, how about the future with the gathering? So are there any plans more than just this 1-year project with the anniversary show?
Well, thank you for saying this, and it's in my heart. Thank you. With the gathering, we don't have plans, so we really, unlike the promise, we do only 2 shows. This is a promise. We do this 1 year of Mandelion shows. We end it in a wonderful way, and for the rest, we have no plans together. And the gathering, you should ask them. I don't know their future. But for this, like the Mandelion shows, this is 1 year of celebration, and then it stops. Because then also it remains special, So that's the plan.
Quick ones. One is, was there really any bad blood between you and the guys from the gathering at any stage? Because as a fan, I can see there has been any, but I'm not talking about details and asking about specifics. But was there?
In when I left the band,
Well, at whatever stage.
well, when I left the band, they weren't happy. That's for sure, of course. And I thought about it for a long time, because I knew when I would do this, I would, put everybody on his head, and that would change a lot. And I know that they didn't want that. So obviously, yeah, they weren't happy, and so we lost contact for a little while. For sure, but luckily, time passes and they found their way. I found my way, and we have so much mutual respect for each other and for each other's music and for each other's path in the. And so yeah, so luckily, that time heals a lot of wounds, and everybody has like their own. In those days, we were always together. It's the only thing that we ever did in our lives was the gathering. We were 5, 6, 7 days a week. We were together. There was nothing else. We didn't have kids, a mortgage. We didn't have anything else than this band. So to quit that, to stop it and to put everybody like in a weird position and in uncertainty, there was a big step to take. I think it's the hardest thing I've ever done, and because I knew I would lose my friends as well, at least for a while. So I'm super happy that we can do this. I mean, who would have thought, like 20 years ago? So, yeah.
Right. The other one is, how do you maintain your energy levels? I mean, how do you keep your energy high? Because from what we see as fans, you're like always happy, like always so energetic. Of course, we don't know what happens behind the curtain, right? But do you ever get sad?
Yes, I do, of course, yes. But the weird thing is that you see me in my good moments, right, on stage. I'm happy as a fish on stage. On stage and playing shows also brings up your, how do you call it? I forgot the word. When you have a lot of energy, like this hormone, the
Dopamine? Dopamine?
dopamine. No, the other thing. Anything like that. So that keeps me up and running. But I do too much, because every so many years I crash and I did too much, and then I can't move anymore and I have to lie down for a few weeks, and then I just over ask my body and my mind and everything. So I have to balance it out a little bit. But I love working hard. I love working long days. I love singing. I love performing, and and that makes me happy. So you always see me in my happy place. My husband, however, he
Well, he doesn't.
Yeah, no. So he, of course, I'm super tired and sometimes sad, and we have a kid, and that that who worries me sometimes, and family life and everything else, and so yeah, obviously I'm sad, but then I'll write a song about it, and I can sing it for you.
Yeah, right. So here's the last one. Do you know the number of the hearts of young metalheads that you've broken along the way? And one more thing, and how many in thousands probably love letters did you receive, at least in the 90s or during your career?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I did get a lot of letters. Nowadays I get DMs. Yeah, but it's all about the music, man. I used to be such a tomboy when I'm posting. In a few days I will post like I found a picture of myself being. I was a huge tomboy, like a short hair, and I didn't feel like a woman for a long time. Then I joined the gathering. In the pictures of the gathering, I wear a huge sweater. I'm not feminine, a little bit more nowadays, So I was never busy with like guys liking me or you know. So it's so weird to notice that guys like me. So, but I'm always, it's all about the music, man. But I thank you for your comment.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Okay. Hello.
Hello, my name is Arthur. First time I heard Saturnine, it was Metal Hammer CD, and it was Saturnine. It was great. But what about question? 4 years ago, you have small tour in Poland, for example in Krakow. Are you planning a tour through a small club in Poland next year?
And I don't understand the question.
A tour, but not a huge festival, but in a small club.
Yeah. And are you asking me to tour in small clubs?
Yes.
Or did you see me in a small
Next few months,
Right.
are you planning tour dates?
Well, yes. I'm coming to Poland with my band. I have a 8-piece rock band, and I'm coming to Poland. Do you know exactly where?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the dates are already announced,
Yes.
so the tickets are on sale.
Yes. Yeah.
Please join us for these shows,
Oh,
right?
yeah, you're so welcome.
That's
You're so
autumn this
welcome.
year.
Yes.
Anneke will be in Poland in small clubs.
Yes, yes. So I'm happy. I'm happy to bring my band, and we'll play a lot of rock songs. My solo stuff, of course, some gathering songs, and we have like a cool show that we're going to take out throughout Europe, and I have a really cool band. They're all super excited to come over. So yeah, we're coming to Poland. Yeah. Thank you.
And one last question.
Hello. Question about Mendelssohn era. Do you remember your first impressions after you started touring with the Mendelssohn album? And second small question, first impression about Poland in the 90s, because you played a lot in Poland, especially in Krakow. Of course, you played in Polish TV, special live shows, so maybe you can tell something about it.
Yeah. We were talking about it today in the van when we were traveling about one of the first tours that we did throughout Poland. Like nowadays, it doesn't happen so much anymore. It's like we do a few cities here, a few cities there. But we used to do like whole tours throughout Poland. And so we went everywhere, and then a little piece of Eastern Germany or whatnot. And we liked it so much because Polish people, you guys are so with your heart and soul into the music, and that was so cool for us. We were also talking about the roads in Poland because and nowadays it's fine, but like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the roads were like a little bit worse than in Holland. And we would go in the tour bus, like this huge bus, right, with the trailer, and we would be sleeping in the bus, and then sometimes we would hit like a hole in the highway, and it would go like boom, and then we would all hit our heads, and we would wake up with a headache, and it was fine because we were on tour, and it was all cool. But you kind of apart from the music, you kind of see what happens in all these years of touring. You come back every year to certain places, and you see what happens to the people, to the cities, to the roads. But it's so cool because you meet a lot of people like, hey, and then you meet somebody in the 90s and they say, I'm a student and I'm doing my studies here. And then at one point you're touring like in Spain, and you see the same people and they like moved, or so we see everybody's lives also, wandering and evolving, and so that's so cool about touring. But we really really like the Polish crowd because you're like really with your heart into the music, so that's cool. Yeah. Honestly. Thank you.